Bienvenido a un nuevo video de inteligencia artificial al canal maestro IA. En este video veremos NotebookLM con su actualización que nos permite hacer no solo podcast, sino también videos. Cuando ingresas vas a poner acá arriba notebooklm.google.com, te vas a loguear y vas a ver que les han agregado cuadernos destacados. Ahí podemos ver los cuadernos destacados que te pueden llegar a servir. Luego acá tenemos todos, que es la primera, están los cuadernos destacados más tus cuadernos, mis cuadernos y cuadernos compartidos conmigo. ¿Quiénes están compartidos los cuadernos? Vamos a ir, una vez que nos logueamos, a crear nuevo. Acá podemos subir las fuentes. Por ejemplo, si tenemos un tema o un video que queremos resumir y queremos estudiarlo, podemos subir. O podemos ponerle descubrir fuentes. Vamos a poner descubrir fuentes y vamos a descubrir fuentes sobre ChatGPT 5. ChatGPT 5 que lo han actualizado. Usos cotidianos. Le vamos a poner fortalezas, mejoras respecto a la versión anterior. Y vamos a descubrir las fuentes. La enviamos. Bueno, estas son todas las fuentes que ha encontrado. Las vamos a importar. Me las va a poner acá a la izquierda. Luego yo puedo eliminar alguna de las fuentes. Si no, las dejo. Acá me da un resumen, una descripción de lo que ha buscado de ChatGPT. Tenemos el chat para charlar. Por ejemplo, qué usos impactantes y éticos de ChatGPT en la educación. Nos sugiere algunas preguntas y nos va respondiendo. Nosotros también le podemos preguntar. ¿Y qué nos va a responder? En base a las fuentes que cargó. Yo acá le puedo agregar fuentes. Si hay alguna que no está, le podemos agregar alguna fuente. Y está descubrir. Eso es importante en la educación. Nos responde. Y las fortalezas. Bien. A la derecha podemos hacer. Vamos a empezar. Mapa mental. Lo resolvió. Lo abrimos al mapa mental y tenemos, con lo cual nosotros podemos entender mejor el tema de cuáles son, por ejemplo, las capacidades mejoradas del ChatGPT. Desde acá lo cerramos. También lo podríamos haber descargado. Y ahora vamos a ir a informes. Vamos a hacer un documento informativo, que sería lo que antes era el resumen. Bueno, acá me dio ChatGPT y el futuro de la IA. Es un resumen de todo lo que vimos. Lo podemos convertir en una fuente. Las fuentes son las que están acá a la izquierda. Podemos seleccionarlo todo. Con control C lo copio y con control V lo pego. Dentro de informes podemos hacer una guía de estudio para poder estudiar el tema en profundidad. Acá tenemos la guía de estudio, hacemos clic acá, abrimos la guía de estudio y vemos que tenemos una descripción, un resumen, preguntas y respuestas para poder estudiar el tema, claves de respuesta, preguntas, formato de ensayo, glosarios de términos clave para poder entender el contenido. Acá podemos hacer preguntas frecuentes. Hacemos clic y va a generar las preguntas frecuentes. Acá tenemos las preguntas frecuentes. Y acá cronología. Si lo abrimos, acá tenemos la cronología de la IA y su evolución. Lo más interesante acá viene acá en esta parte, resumen de audio y resumen de video, donde nos va a hacer un video. Vamos con el resumen de audio. Si hacemos clic aquí, lo podemos personalizar. En la personalización, acá podemos duración más corta, más larga, predeterminada. Y ponemos must be in Spanish, all told in Spanish. Presionamos generar. Aparentemente está en inglés todavía.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into the, well, sometimes pretty overwhelming world of artificial intelligence. The big question on
Si lo cierro, acá tenemos una forma interactiva o interactivo. En el modo interactivo nosotros le podemos preguntar.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into the...
Oh, our listeners got something to share. Let's hear it.
What are the improvements in ChatGPT 5?
That's a great question and right on cue.
Yeah, you're one step ahead of us.
GPT-5, as you're curious about, really takes a leap forward.
Sam Altman, OpenAI's CEO, even compared it to going from a college grad to someone with a PhD.
Bueno, como verán es interactivo, obviamente que él está en inglés. Esto lo podemos compartir o podemos ver ahora. Vamos a ver el resumen de video. El resumen de video sí o sí está en inglés, pero sirve para hacer videos que te pueden ayudar a estudiar. Mientras se termina el video, le pregunté en el chat, cuéntame cuáles son las mejores ChatGPT respecto a la versión anterior y sobre sus competidores. Y me responde con todo esto. Esta respuesta yo la puedo guardar en notas o la puedo copiar. Y queda copiada en el portapapeles para usarla para mi trabajo, para mi informe. Me sigue generando el resumen de video, tarda un poco más que el resumen de audio y veremos a ver cómo queda. Ya quedó nuestro video, lo vamos a ver. Espero que te haya gustado y te espero para un nuevo video de inteligencia artificial.
Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into the launch of GPT-5. It's one of the most anticipated and, most controversial AI releases we've seen yet. We're going to unpack the incredible hype, the surprising backlash, and really, what this all means for our future with AI.
I mean, the stage was set for something huge, right? When OpenAI's own CEO, Sam Altman, got his hands on an early version, he basically said it was so good it made him feel useless. And that one comment, man, it just lit a fire of expectation for an AI so powerful it could make its own creators obsolete.
And that brings us right to the big question here. Because after it actually launched, the reactions from real users weren't just mixed, they were all over the place. So, what's the real story? Is it a total revolution, or was it just a huge disappointment? Okay, so to figure this all out, here's our game plan. We're going to look at what was promised with GPT. After that, we'll zoom out and see how this fits into the bigger picture of AI. And finally, we'll deliver our verdict. Hype versus reality. All right, first up, let's talk about the promises. What was actually on paper? The official announcement from OpenAI painted this picture of an AI that wasn't just another upgrade. No, this was pitched as a whole new class of technology. So the first big deal was this thing called a unified architecture. You know how before you kind of had different models for different things? Well, forget that. This new system is smart. It looks at what you ask and automatically picks how much horsepower it needs. Simple question, you get a quick response. But a complex problem, it brings out the big guns for deep analysis. And the memory? Whoa. We're talking colossal, over 1 million tokens. Now, what does that even mean? Well, think of tokens as little pieces of words. 1 million of them is like feeding it multiple novels at once and having it remember everything. This means you could have a conversation that lasts for weeks, or have it analyze a huge database without forgetting what you talked about at the start. And the numbers they put out? Just stunning. It didn't just get a little better than the last version, it absolutely blew it out of the water. We're talking more than doubling its score on a tough coding test. Plus, it was supposed to make way fewer of those weird factual mistakes. You know, the hallucinations people talk about. Like 45% fewer. That's a huge drop. So, how does this whole unified thing actually work? Well, it's all thanks to something called an auto-router. Think of it like a smart traffic cop for your questions. It sees your question come in, sizes it up, and then sends it to the right specialist. A quick nano version if it's easy, or the big brain pro version if you give it a real head scratcher. And you don't see any of this. It all happens in the background. And look, this table really drives it home. This wasn't just a small step up. We're talking a fundamental leap in how it thinks, how it reasons. And it wasn't just about writing code that works. It was about writing code that was, well, beautiful, clean, elegant, easy for a human to read. That's a big deal for developers. So when you put it all together, what's the ultimate promise? It's an AI that stops being just a suggester and becomes a doer. It can actually take action on its own, sending that email for you, not just writing it, managing your schedule, basically becoming a true personal assistant, not just a chatbot. Okay, so with all that hype, you'd think the launch would be a slam dunk, right? Well, not so much. The real-world reaction was a totally different story. The second it went live, the internet, well, it had some opinions.
Yeah, almost right away, places like Reddit just exploded. People were saying it felt dumber, less creative, but it would get into these weird circular arguments that made no sense. It wasn't just, meh, I'm disappointed. It was real frustration.
So you've got this huge disconnect, right? On one hand, you have these genius-level test scores, but on the other, you have tons of users saying, hey, this feels like a downgrade. So what gives? Was the whole launch a bust, or was something else going on behind the scenes? Okay, remember that auto-router we talked about? That clever little traffic cop? Well, here's the twist. It was also the source of all the frustration. See, running these huge AI models costs an insane amount of money. So, to save cash, OpenAI designed the system to send all the easy questions to cheaper, less powerful versions of the AI. And that is the key. You weren't always talking to the super genius GPT-5. Unless your question was complicated enough to convince the router to bring out the big guns, you were probably talking to one of its dumber, cheaper little brothers. And that's why the experience felt so inconsistent and, for a lot of people, so underwhelming. You know, this whole GPT-5 saga is actually a perfect example of the messy reality of bringing AI into the real world. So let's zoom out for a second beyond just this one launch and look at the bigger picture. How is this tech already changing our lives right now? And naturally, whenever you talk about AI this powerful, even a flawed version of it, the conversation always goes to one place: our jobs. It's the big question, right? So there was this big report from Goldman Sachs that said AI could automate tasks for something like 300 million jobs. And yeah, that number sounds terrifying. But history kind of shows us a pattern. New technology changes jobs, for sure, but it also creates brand new ones. I mean, think about it. The job prompt engineer literally didn't exist just a few years ago. Now it's a whole career path. And we're seeing a similar thing in education. There's this study that found, yeah, AI helps students get better grades, but here's the catch. There's a massive gap. Most students have had zero training on how to use it well or ethically. So we have this powerful tool, but we're not really teaching people how to wield it. But hey, it's not all about work and school, right? AI is also becoming this amazing tool for just everyday life stuff. Like, you can literally ask it to plan your meals, find a gift for under $5, or tell you how to fix a leaky faucet. You can even have it write a goofy song about math. It's turning into this universal problem solver for the little things, too. All right, so we've looked at the incredible promises, we've seen the backlash, and we've talked about the bigger picture. So, where do we land? What's the final verdict on GPT-5? Honestly, the whole story of GPT-5 is the perfect example of the gap between the hype and the reality. The hype was this world-changing, super smart agent. The reality? A sometimes clunky experience driven by a system trying to save money. It was sold as this giant leap toward, true AI. But what we got is what AI really is right now: a powerful, evolving tool that comes with some serious trade-offs.
But at the end of the day, this isn't just about one failed launch. That's not the real story. It's about our complicated, sometimes frustrating, and pretty messy relationship with artificial intelligence. This whole episode is just a snapshot of where we are right now as we try to figure out how to live with this incredibly powerful new thing.
Because if this launch makes one thing crystal clear, it's this. The age of powerful AI isn't coming anymore, it's here. It's a reality right now with all of its amazing possibilities and all of its annoying flaws. The tech is moving at a speed that's almost hard to comprehend. It is going to change things. The only question left is, are we ready for it?